Okay, so this is the second part in this video series of The Power of One. So I just finished talking about the one customer. So now we're going to go into the one pain. I'm going to try and keep this under 10 minutes. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a statement that really captures the one overriding pain, or the pain that is symbolic of what is driving this person to seek a solution. And when you're the one creating the product and you're the one who's close to the customer, sometimes it's hard to isolate it out. So I have to usually pull this out of the client. Now what I look for, this is a tool that I use that might help you, is I try to bring them back to an event. Okay, so if my client is the person who used to be in pain and created a product to solve that pain, I'll say, give me an example of a time that you really wanted to have a solution. So I bring them back to an event in their life. Usually, one event is all I need, but it's hard for a person to do that. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to get the facts. I want to basically understand it myself so that I can feel it and imagine being in it, so I can come up with cool ways of stating the pain. So what does a fact equal, right? A fact equals a time, a location, a circumstance, and an event. Okay, so when you're talking about a fact, then a fact contains those four things. So I want to know that. I want to know, when did it happen? Did this happen? When did you notice this? When was it a focal point in your mind? Where were you? Were you in your house? Were you driving to work? Were you in your office? Were you in front of your boss? What happened? Okay, where were you in this event? And what was the circumstance? What was going on that got you into this situation? Whatever it was, it could be really mundane. And now tell me what was the event? What exactly happened? Okay, so I want to give you an example of how important this is. Okay, to find the actual event or the facts of this event, or just at least one fact of this event. Let's take weight loss. I've made a lot of money in the weight loss niche, selling information. Now, you would think that being overweight is something a person feels all day, because it's not like they just gain 10 pounds and then lose 10 pounds and gain it back in one day. You assume that that's a constant pain. And I understand that, and that is not wrong. Like, if you say that, the customer will pretty say, yeah, you're right, it really is a constant pain, it's always there. But when I dug deeper, I found that was not really the case when I was inside of their mind. When I was inside of their mind, let's take a woman. There were really only a few times she experienced that pain. Okay, it is in the morning when she was getting ready for work and she was dressing herself. In that moment, in front of the mirror, if the pants didn't fit right, or the blouse didn't fit right, or some article of clothing wasn't fitting the way it used to, at that moment, at that time, in that location, in that circumstance of being in a rush, that event stood out and had pain. Another time that's very closely, and by the way, I'm giving you some gold here. If you haven't noticed, this is very, very powerful stuff if you're in the weight loss niche or want to get into it. The other time, later in the day, where weight becomes more of an acute pain as opposed to a chronic pain, is when she's picking up her kids from school. She's very exhausted and she feels guilt. Okay, mothers feel guilt no matter what, but at this point it's very acute, it's very pointed, because she's with her child and she doesn't want to be cranky or tired or upset or short, but she can't help it because she's exhausted at this time of day. She blames it on her weight, which is also equal to not being healthy, or something's wrong with my body. So that is another time. It's another location. She's usually in the living room or in the kitchen. And there's a circumstance, which is picking up the kids from school in the afternoon. And there's an event where the kids are being noisy. They don't want to do their homework. They're running around and she's exhausted, right? So she becomes a little bit angry because they won't listen to her. So that's a fact. That's an actual event which has all these four things. The other time where it's very pointed is at night when she's going to bed. She's exhausted. Husband wants to have sex. She doesn't want to have sex. And it's because of how she feels about her body. Okay? Now, I think the time, location, circumstance is very obvious now, but the point I'm trying to make, which I'm sure you're gathering right now, is if I stated those three things, or at least one of those things, that is like a scalpel cutting through the heart of the reader, as opposed to saying, yeah, your weight is on you all day, it's a constant thing. It's not a constant thing. So what I'm looking for is I'm trying to find events in the day of the life of the customer that is symbolic of the pain. Okay, so even the things I described to you, I know that you can feel the pain of that if you were that person. And how do you get inside the event of the view of the customer at that moment is look for the time, look for the location, look for the circumstance, look for the event, and how did it play out. Sometimes it's just 30 seconds, but that 30 seconds is what causes the customer to make a decision about themselves. I am overweight, or I am a bad executive, I am an unattractive man, I am poor, I am this. It's because of that event. And they carry this belief with them for the rest of the day, and then the next day it happens again and this belief intensifies. Okay? And so this is how it forms. It forms based on these events, which are like little Lego blocks that build into this big structure inside the mind, which is a belief. Okay, so it's hard to change that belief because it's made of so many small little pieces that have been piled on top of each other, and these are events in their life. So what we're looking for to find the pain is a symbolic event, okay? A symbolic event that just symbolizes everything. That's all I've been trying to say. So let's take a slightly light example. Let's take Domino's Pizza. So Domino's Pizza, they're not in the business of creating awesome pizza, right? It's not gourmet or anything. It's just, in fact, it's mass produced. But if you're a college kid who doesn't have a lot of money, and you want something you can pitch in with your roommates to get some grub for dinner, Domino's fits the bill, and it's fast. So there's a symbolic event of like, man, I'm hungry. I don't have any cash, and I don't want to wait, and I don't want to walk someplace to get some food, and I definitely don't want to cook. So that's a symbolic event. That's a time, location, circumstance, and event. And then Domino's fulfills that. And I'm going to talk about in the one promise. So that's what you're looking for, okay? So I remember there's this guy, he put a sales letter up for review. It was about learning Korean. I forgot the person's name. I'm very bad with names. But I really liked the sales letter the first time he did it, which was a long time ago. And he did another revision. I really, really liked reading it because I felt like I was hearing a person. But, like if you think about the customer and you reduce that letter down to one customer, let's say you make it an expatriate or a diplomat who's traveling to Korea, and it was a course to teach quick Korean to a diplomat. That would be creating the customer a one customer. And the one pain point, you have to find a symbolic event of trying to do, maybe it would be something like how to get a cab to take him to the hotel. If that, it may be a symbolic event that it took him half an hour to communicate something so simple that should have taken 1 second. That can be a symbolic event with a time, location, circumstance, and event. So by capturing that one event, it becomes a symbol of the pain. I'm not even sure if that was a good example for you. In my mind, it's very clear. Another example I can give you is I used to consult a lot of doctors, and there's an ophthalmologist who is an eye doctor, and there's an optometrist. The only difference between an ophthalmologist and an optometrist is that an optometrist cannot do surgery. That's the only difference. And there's certain medications and drugs they can't prescribe. But the common insider joke in that world is that ophthalmologists are not considered real doctors. So they burn up inside when you make a statement like that. The same is true of chiropractors. It's an inside joke where you say chiropractors are just, they're just quacks. So a symbolic event of when that occurred, when they were at a party and an ophthalmologist kind of put them down because they were just an optometrist. Maybe they made a snide remark. That would be a symbolic event of the pain for this ophthalmologist. For this optometrist. Same with a chiropractor. Okay, chiropractors, there's that term whack and crack. And so, they're regarded as an inferior species of doctor, right? And it's an inside joke, and I've been in that world for so long that I learned these things. But that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to find a symbolic event to symbolize the pain. To intensify it more, you can give it a name. So when I was consulting a lot of chiros, a lot of the marketing I developed was, along the lines of, stop being known as the whack and crack quack, and it's just, or stop being known as the quack. And that was a very, very sharp, red hot pain point because it symbolized a lot of their pain and frustration. There are many other techniques for intensifying the pain. I'm not going to get into that right now. The moral of the story here is try to reduce things down to one pain, which can be represented as one statement. If you can give it a name, then that intensifies it even more. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. The next video I'll do the one promise and finish it off.